Picture this. It's early Wednesday morning in the bustling, congested neighborhood of Hazrani, right in Delhi's Malviya Naga, around 8:30 a.m. Inside a five-story bed and breakfast, dozens of guests, families visiting sick relatives, foreign tourists a long way from home, are fast asleep or just settling down for breakfast. But within minutes, you guys, this completely ordinary morning shatters into literally one of the most terrifying urban nightmares imaginable. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving deep into the anatomy of a tragedy, the devastating fire at the Flourish Stay B&B. We're going to stick strictly to the facts from on-the-ground reporting to figure out exactly how a string of unbelievably negligent decisions turned a building into a literal trap. Let's get into the timeline, the catastrophic structural failures, and the staggering human cost of a disaster that, well, as you'll see, was entirely preventable. Now, I want to start with a detail that genuinely defies belief. As this fire was raging, trapping dozens of guests inside a suffocating, smoke-filled building, the owner of the property, Lavkesh Bajaj, was right there. He actually saw it happening. But according to his own shocking admission to the police later on, he didn't stop. He didn't rush in to help the very people who trusted him with their safety. Instead, he told authorities, and I quote, "I simply drove past the burning hotel, out of fear." No way, right? He didn't even go home. He just decided to wander the streets while people were literally fighting for their lives inside his burning building. Honestly, this one chilling detail perfectly sets the tone for everything we're about to unpack. It's a story defined by a profound, unbelievable abandonment of responsibility. 21. Take a second to let that sink in. 21. That's how many people were declared dead on arrival at Max Hospital. 21 lives gone in a matter of minutes. And what makes this even more heartbreaking is who these victims were. Out of those 21 individuals, 12 were foreign nationals. Think about that. These were folks navigating an unfamiliar country, putting their absolute trust in the hospitality and the safety regulations of a supposedly certified bed and breakfast. The sheer scale of this loss is a textbook example of what happens when systemic oversight collides with corporate greed. And to really understand how we got to that number, 21, we have to look closely at the building itself. Part 1. The Blueprints of a Disaster. Let's look at the forensic details of how a seemingly normal building became a deadly trap. Okay, so tracking the property's physical transformation is wild. Before 2022, this place was just a two-story structure housing a khadi store. Actually, Bajaj himself admitted to police that even back then, the building was in awful shape, super dilapidated. Fast forward to 2022, and Bajaj buys the property from a guy named Alwalia. This is exactly where the fatal blueprint is drawn. Instead of, fixing or reinforcing the shaky two-story structure, Bajaj's operation illegally slapped another 2.5 floors right on top of it. He took a totally fragile foundation and just stacked a massive unauthorized hotel on it. It completely wrecked the structural integrity and changed the entire purpose of the original building. Now, Bajaj claimed he had a license under the incredible India bed and breakfast scheme. This is a framework from back in 2007 meant to promote safe, cozy homestays. The rules for it are crystal clear. You get a maximum of 6 double bedrooms per property, the building has to maintain a strictly residential character, and, this is key, the owner actually has to live on the premises. Mandatory. But what was the reality at Flourish Stay? They were running 25 rooms, just completely blowing past the legal limit. They had rooms crammed down in the basement, they were running 2 large kitchens, and as we already know from his morning drive, the owner for sure didn't live there. It was operating as a full-scale commercial hotel, just wearing the disguise of a quaint little family homestay. Part 2, the trap. Security lapses. Now let's examine the terrifying structural failures that sealed the guests' fate. Like I said earlier, this wasn't just a fire, it was a trap. Let's quickly rapid fire through these catastrophic security lapses, because it's genuinely overwhelming. First off, absolutely no fire, no objection certificate, or NOC, none. Second, the entire 5-story, 25-room complex had one single entry and exit point. Just imagine dozens of panicked people rushing for one narrow door. Third, to make things even worse, the windows were completely sealed shut, so zero fresh air and absolutely no alternative way out. Fourth, the main door was sensor-operated. When the fire knocked out the power, that electronic door just sealed shut, literally locking people inside. And finally, the whole place was a powder keg. They had 2 kitchens, one in the basement where the fire actually started and one on the top floor, storing multiple highly flammable commercial LPG cylinders. Those sleeping guests, they literally had absolutely no way out. Part 3. The devastating human cost. We really need to slow down for a second and ground these corporate failures in the heartbreaking human reality. Take Vivek Agarwal, for example. He was a chartered accountant from Gurugram.
His 80-year-old father, Radhesham Agarwal, was incredibly sick and in the ICU at the nearby Max Hospital. Vivek naturally wanted his family close by, so he, his wife Tarjini, their 2 daughters, and 4 other relatives made the trip to Delhi. They booked 2 rooms at Flourish Stay just to be near the hospital. They were literally sitting down for breakfast when the fire erupted. All 8 members of the Agarwal family perished in that blaze. Today, Vivek's 80-year-old father lies in an ICU bed, the sole heartbroken survivor of his entire family. It's just devastating. This, right here, is why building codes matter. This is the real human cost of illegal expansions and sealed windows.
Part 4. Arrests and unanswered questions. Let's pivot to the aftermath and the desperate attempts to dodge accountability. Remember Lavkesh Bajaj, the owner who just drove right past the fire? Well, it turns out he didn't just wander the streets aimlessly. The Delhi police realized pretty fast that Bajaj was a massive flight risk. Both of his kids are settled abroad, and authorities strongly suspected he was making moves to flee the country entirely to avoid facing the music for his illegal hotel. So the police had to scramble to issue a lookout circular against him and his wife to block them at the borders. Thankfully, they managed to track him down and officially slap the handcuffs on him late Wednesday night, just hours after the fire was finally put out. But of course, almost immediately, Bajaj tried to mount a defense. During his interrogation, and while admitting he was the sole owner, Bajaj pointed the finger squarely at his manager. He claims he handed over the entire management of the property to a guy named Jai Mishra. Actually, he even claims that all the hotel licenses were issued in Mishra's name, basically trying to shift all the legal and criminal blame off his own shoulders. As a result, the police are now on a massive manhunt for this manager, who is conveniently missing and on the run. Authorities are looking into all of Bajaj's claims, but honestly, the attempt to dodge accountability here is crystal clear. So we've reached the end of the timeline, but this story is far from over. I want to leave you with a really critical question, one that goes way beyond Lavkesh Bajaj or his missing manager. How on earth does a dilapidated 2-story Khadi store magically transform into an illegal 5-story, 25-room hotel? We're talking commercial gas cylinders, sealed windows, and no fire certificates, all right in the middle of a congested residential area in India's capital. Think about it. That doesn't happen overnight. It takes months, maybe years of construction and operation. So where were the civic inspectors? Where were the fire safety audits? How many more Flourish Stays are currently operating under the radar, just waiting for a short circuit? Arresting one owner definitely doesn't fix the completely broken system that let this massacre happen in plain sight. Take that thought away with you today. And please always know your exit routes.